You finally got that $20,000 raise, but 6 months later, you're more stressed and have less in savings than before. You aren't crazy. You've just walked into the benefit cliff and the conformity tax. Today, we show you how to audit your promotion so it actually builds wealth. My name is Stick, and I've made it my mission to expose the invisible equations that keep the middle class stuck on a financial treadmill. If you're tired of being a financial sleepwalker and want to start running your life like a profitable business, hit subscribe and join our community of architects. You pop the champagne, call your parents, and celebrate hitting 6 figures. You feel like you've arrived. Your LinkedIn profile looks impressive. The congratulations messages roll in. Finally, all those late nights, those sacrificed weekends, those conference calls at midnight, they've paid off. But then reality sets in. Tuesday night hits 3 months later, and you're staring at your bank account in disbelief. You realize you have more debt and less free time than when you made half as much. Your credit card balance is somehow higher. That feeling of financial breathing room you expected, it never materialized. Instead, you feel more trapped than ever. This is the Henry trap. High earner, not rich yet. And here's the brutal truth most financial advisors won't tell you. The system is designed to strip mine the middle class by making success expensive. We're not talking about conspiracy theories here. We're talking about mathematical reality. The tax code, the benefit structure, the social expectations, they all converge at this exact income level to extract maximum value from your labor, while giving you the illusion of progress. Today we're going to do a complete forensic audit of a typical $25,000 raise to show you, line by line, why it often results in an $8,000 mathematical loss. Not because you're bad with money, not because you lack discipline, but because you're playing a rigged game without knowing the rules. The marginal tax shock. The first reason your raise feels like a lie is the marginal tax shock, and this is where most people's financial literacy completely falls apart. When you imagine a $25,000 bump, your brain does what I call linear math. You assume you'll keep the same percentage of your paycheck as you do now. If you currently take home 75% after taxes, you assume that $25,000 raise means $18,750 in your pocket. Wrong. Dead wrong. Here's what actually happens. As you succeed, you hit progressive tax brackets where the government doesn't just take more money. They take a higher percentage of every new dollar you earn. If your raise pushes you from the 12% federal bracket to the 22% or 24% bracket, a massive chunk of that success is confiscated before it ever hits your bank account. Let's run the actual numbers on that $25,000 raise. The federal government immediately takes 24% of the portion that lands in the higher bracket. That's $6,000 gone. Then your state wants their cut. Let's say 5%, another $1,250. Social Security grabs 6.2%. There goes $1,550. Medicare takes 1.45%. That's $362. We're already down to $15,838. And we haven't even gotten to your 401k contribution if you're smart enough to max it out. But here's the psychological warfare aspect that nobody talks about. You are essentially working harder to become the government's primary cash cow. Every additional hour you work, every additional responsibility you take on, every weekend you sacrifice, the government gets first cut. You're not working for yourself anymore at this income level. You're working for the IRS, and they've got you right where they want you. Successful enough to pay serious taxes, but not wealthy enough to hire the accountants who know how to make those taxes disappear. The ultra-wealthy, they don't play this game. They structure their compensation as capital gains. They use depreciation on real estate. They park money in qualified opportunity zones. But you? You get a W-2 and a handshake, and the government treats your labor like a public utility they can tax at will. The childcare and student loan cliff. Next, we need to audit what I call the middle-class donut hole. The specific hellscape where you earn too much to get help, but not enough to rig the system. This is the benefit cliff, and it's one of the cruelest mathematical traps in modern American life. For example, once your income crosses a certain threshold, usually around $80,000 to $90,000 for individuals, the government decides you are too rich to deduct the interest on your student loans. Let me say that again. The government determines that you, someone who probably still eats ramen twice a week and drives a car with 140,000 miles on it, are too wealthy to deserve a tax break on the debt you took on to become educated enough to earn this salary in the first place. Effectively, your student loan just became more expensive because you got a promotion. You're now paying the full freight on that interest with post-tax dollars, which means if you're in the 24% bracket, every $100 in student loan interest costs you $132 in pre-tax earnings. The math is working backwards. Success is being punished. But wait, it gets worse. Even worse is the child care cliff, and this one is absolutely devastating for young families trying to climb the economic ladder. Here's how this trap works. Earning an extra $10,000 might disqualify you from pre-kindergarten tax credits or subsidized childcare programs. Suddenly, your annual childcare expenses spike by $15,000 or more. You worked overtime, you earned a promotion, you did everything society told you to do. And the math proves you are now mathematically poorer by thousands of dollars. I've watched families turn down raises because they calculated that accepting the promotion would actually reduce their net household income by $300 to $500 per month. Think about that. They had to refuse professional advancement because the benefit structure is so poorly designed that success triggers financial penalties. This isn't happening in some dystopian novel. This is happening right now in cities across America. To people who followed all the rules. They got the degree, they worked the long hours, they climbed the ladder, and the system responded by pulling the rug out from under them the moment they started to succeed. The benefit cliff also applies to healthcare subsidies under the ACA, housing assistance, food assistance, and dozens of other programs. There's a specific income band, roughly $75,000 to $125,000 depending on family size, where every dollar you earn costs you $2 in lost benefits and increased taxes. You're running up the down escalator, and the harder you work, the faster it moves against you. Let's pause for a reality check, because I need you to understand how completely the script has changed while we're all still reading from the old playbook. In 1995, $100,000 was rich. It meant something. It meant you'd made it. You could buy a house in a good school district, take the family on vacation, save for retirement, and still have money left over for emergencies. Today, adjusted for inflation and the real cost of housing, healthcare, and education, that $100,000 is the equivalent of $48,000 in 1995 dollars. Thanks to the silent compounding killer of inflation, you now have an executive title but a survival salary. You are acting out a script that became obsolete 2 decades ago, but nobody updated the cultural narrative. The entire performance of making it is based on numbers that stopped meaning what they used to mean before you were even in the workforce. The upgrade demand. Now we need to look at what might be the most insidious trap of all, the conformity tax. This is the social pressure that turns your raise into a liability before you even realize what's happening. When you hit 6 figures, society, your peers, your family, your colleagues expects you to perform the role of a successful person. And here's where it gets dangerous. You internalize these expectations so deeply that they stop feeling like external pressure and start feeling like your own authentic desires. You can't drive the 2012 Honda Civic anymore. You're a director now. You have a certain image to maintain. What will the other executives think when they see you parking next to their vehicles? So you need the Tesla or the BMW, not because it makes your life better, but because it signals that you belong. This is the Diderot effect, named after the French philosopher who wrote about how buying a beautiful new dressing gown made him suddenly dissatisfied with all his other possessions. One new possession, like a job title, demands an entire new environment to maintain identity consistency. You upgrade the car, which demands the nicer apartment in the better neighborhood. The nicer apartment demands new furniture because your old IKEA stuff looks ridiculous in a place with crown molding. The new furniture demands you start shopping at West Elm instead of Target, which means you need the wardrobe to match when friends come over, which means you need the $500 logo t-shirt because everyone at your level is wearing them. Each upgrade feels justified in isolation. Each decision seems reasonable. But the aggregate effect is that you are financing the appearance of wealth by destroying the actual mechanism of wealth, which is the gap between what you earn and what you spend. Here's the sinister part. The conformity tax isn't just about objects, it's about experiences too. Your peer group shifts. Suddenly you're getting invited to destination weddings in Napa, bachelor parties in Miami, dinners at restaurants where the entrees start at $45. Saying no feels like admitting you can't afford it, which feels like admitting you're not actually successful, which threatens the entire identity you've built around this new salary level. So you say yes, you put it on the credit card, you tell yourself it's an investment in relationships, in networking, in living life. But what you're actually doing is paying a premium to maintain a social fiction that you've achieved financial security when the numbers tell a completely different story. Parkinson's law in finance. Why don't you actually feel richer despite the raise? It's Parkinson's law, but applied to personal finance. The brutal rule that expenses expand to consume whatever surplus becomes available. Every time you get a raise, you find a new need. You switch from Target to Whole Foods because quality matters now. You upgrade from Planet Fitness to Equinox because serious people invest in their health. You move from the studio to the one bedroom because you deserve space. Each decision is rational. Each decision is justifiable. And each decision ensures that your bank account looks exactly the same as it did before the raise. But there's a darker layer here that most financial content completely misses. Decompression spending. High-salary jobs often require a level of availability, stress, and psychological burden that literally destroys your soul. You're on email until 11 p.m. You're on calls at 7 a.m. Your weekends aren't really weekends anymore. They're just time to recover enough to survive the next week. Your job has colonized your entire existence. So what happens? You order $45 Thai food delivery 3 nights a week because you're too exhausted to cook. You subscribe to 5 streaming services just to numb out from the stress of the job. You buy those $200 headphones because you need something, anything, to make the commute bearable. You hire the cleaning service, the lawn service, the meal prep service, not because you're lazy, but because the job has consumed all your time and energy. This is the hidden cost of high-earning employment that nobody talks about in salary negotiations. You're not just selling your labor, you're selling your life force, your peace of mind, your ability to exist as a human being rather than a productivity unit. And then you have to spend money just to cope with the damage that earning the money caused in the first place. You are paying a premium to survive your own success. The job that was supposed to give you freedom has instead created a new set of dependencies, and each dependency has a price tag. The 50-50 rule. So how do you escape this trap? How do you actually build wealth when the entire system is designed to strip mine every dollar you earn? The only way to escape is to artificially induce scarcity. You must implement what I call a lifestyle anchor, a deliberate constraint that prevents lifestyle inflation from devouring your financial progress. Here's the protocol. When you get your next raise, hide it. Pretend it didn't happen. Do not, under any circumstances, allow that money to flow into your checking account where it can be spent on upgraded lattes and spontaneous Amazon purchases. Use the 50-50 rule. Automatically direct at least half of every raise into an S&P 500 index fund or a high-yield savings account before it ever hits your checking account. Set up the direct deposit split with your HR department the same day you accept the promotion. If you don't see the money, you won't spend it on what I call vampire liabilities. The subscriptions, the upgrades, the conveniences that slowly drain your wealth without providing lasting value. This gap between what you earn and what you spend is your fuck you money. And I'm not using that term for shock value. I'm using it because that's its actual function. This is the capital reserve that buys you out of the prison of the treadmill. It's the money that lets you say no to toxic jobs, abusive managers, and soul-crushing corporate cultures. True wealth isn't about consumption, it's about optionality. It's about having the financial cushion to take risks, to switch careers, to start the business, to move to the city you actually want to live in rather than the city where the job is. Every dollar you automate into savings is a dollar of freedom you're buying from your future self. But here's what most people get wrong about this strategy. They think it's about deprivation. It's not. It's about intentionality. You can still spend money on things that matter. On experiences, on relationships, on the specific luxuries that genuinely improve your quality of life. The key is to spend consciously rather than letting your expenses float upward automatically in response to income increases. The lifestyle anchor isn't about living like you're poor when you're not. It's about refusing to perform wealth when you haven't actually built it yet. It's about recognizing that the BMW in the driveway is a depreciating asset that signals status, while the index fund nobody sees is an appreciating asset that creates actual security. Most people never escape the trap because they treat every raise as permission to spend more. They see the higher number on the paycheck and immediately start shopping for ways to deploy it. The lifestyle anchor breaks that pattern by creating a forcing function, an automatic system that saves first and lets you spend what's left, rather than spending first and trying to save what's left. True success in 2026 isn't the BMW in the driveway, or the title on the business card, or the apartment in the trendy neighborhood. True success is the ability to lose your job and not panic for 2 years. It's the ability to walk away from situations that don't serve you because you've built the financial cushion that makes you anti-fragile. Stop chasing the salary title and start chasing the net profit of your life. Stop optimizing for the appearance of success and start optimizing for actual financial sovereignty. The math doesn't lie. Most promotions make you poorer unless you consciously design your life around preserving the gap between earning and spending. Subscribe to learn how to keep the money you earn. I'll see you in the next audit. Remember, the game is rigged, but once you see the rules, you can start playing it properly.